VAR. I want to speak about VAR. We'll do Mark Housey first. Just take a listen to what he said about the controversial disallowed Liverpool goal.
Liverpool have a perfectly good goal ruled out on the basis of offside. And we know there's a degree of subjectivity in this specific law. But let's have a look at it. A player in an offside position at the moment the ball is played or touched by a teammate is only penalised on becoming involved in active play by interfering with play, by playing or touching a ball passed or touched by a teammate, or interfering with an opponent by preventing an opponent from playing or being able to play by clearly obstructing the opponent's line of vision.
When I hear him speak, it reminds me of
Is that Mark Housey?
Yeah, Mark Housey. So
he's very different.
Yeah, he's aged. He has aged, but he's come out and slammed it. Quite a lot of the ex-referees that are no longer associated to the PGMOL have come out and said it was a clear goal, ducking out the way. I mean, PGMOL themselves have said in the past, we've all heard the footage where ducking out the way or moving out the way is not considered an attempt to play the ball. It's not considered an obvious movement towards the ball. It's getting out the way. We could clearly see that Donnarumma could see he wasn't impeded from diving because he was at full stretch. What did you make of the decision to disallow the goal and then VAR's check taking 10 seconds? Because Liverpool have now written an official complaint to the PGMOL. We haven't heard from Jamie Carragher yet. He hasn't come out and slammed it like when Forest and Arsenal did it yet, strangely enough. But what do you make?
That's Keith Hackett.
Keith Hackett, sorry, yes, you are right. I don't know why I said Mark Housey.
I've just been really terrified at the degradation of Mark Housey. If he looks like that, okay, now.
Yeah, do you know what it is? Before? Mark Housey said something else. I read something else by him. It's not. Yes, you're right. It's Keith Hackett. Sorry. Apologies, people.
I feel better now. I heard what Dermot Gallagher had to say. You're not going to play a clip from him, are you?
No.
So Dermot Gallagher on Ref Watch basically said that the linesman gave it, so VAR can't get involved because it's not clear and obvious. And yet, Michael Oliver got involved in the Doku penalty in the same game and said it was a penalty. So that's a load of bollocks. The reality is, it is clear and obviously wrong because anybody who's ever played the game and instantaneously on the watch along, we had a poll and like nearly 80% said that should have been a goal. Now, considering you're going to get a load of people who don't like Liverpool, that's very, very high. So I felt it was a goal. I know when the audience is going 80%, I know it should have been given. And I can't find any grounds for it not to be a goal because ultimately I look at it. I used to do a bit of goalkeeping when I was like in my teens. And as long as you've got sight of the ball and as long as your movement is natural, there is no obstruction. And effectively what happens is where Van Dijk is, which is there, Robertson's here. By the time Van Dijk heads the ball, I can see. And the only problem Donnarumma has is he thinks it might go that side. So he sort of hesitates. And as soon as it's going that way, he launches at full stretch. You take everybody off the pitch apart from Donnarumma and Van Dijk, and that's a goal. And that's how I would always look at it. When you're talking about obstruction or offside, you're looking at interference. If I take everybody off that pitch, does Donnarumma make that save? No. If I just put Robertson there, he doesn't make the save no matter what I do. So we don't have games that finish 6-6. We get a lot of 0-0s. I should not be finding ways to rule out goals. And that's what they did in that game. And I think this is the problem with the officiating in the Premier League at the moment is they're always looking for ways to give cards, to make fouls for offsides. They've lost what football is. It's an entertainment sport. You should keep the game running as much as possible. If it's a soft foul, don't give it. And don't give the next one and let the game flow. And in that instance, there's a very minute percentage who would say that was interfering, minority percentage, and that's won over the majority. And I'm not a Liverpool fan. I was quite glad they lost, but that would have been 1-1 in a game where we all know games can change. And that was a goal that should have been given. And Man City were very good in that game, but I can't. Ginger Bish says, I can see why it was disallowed. I can't. There's no justification for it at all.
No, there isn't. And look, Ray says something here, which is interesting. And what you just said a minute ago is why this came in. But he says here that for me, the rules need changing to if a player is standing in an offside position when a player touches the ball, it should be offside, period. That will end it. The issue is that's what the rule used to be. The reason they changed it, and this is why I think you're so right, Mark, they're looking, in that moment, they're looking for a reason not to give it. There are other times, Cities versus Wolves, where they're looking for a reason they can give it. And I always feel that they should be looking more towards that. Is there any real reason to disallow it? But to your point, Ray, in the super chat, they removed that rule. They changed the law because what would happen is a player could be standing by the corner flag in an offside position and a shot was hit from distance and it would have to be flagged offside, but it had no impact on the game. Sometimes you are standing in and around the goal, but you're nowhere near it. So Ahmad's goal against Forest would be ruled out based on your ruling. But although he's in an offside position, he's not committing an offside offence. And that's what needs to be clarified for me. But as you pointed out, he could see.
Yeah.
Go on, mate. Go on.
I was just going to say, but like, how can VAR not get involved? The linesman is stood on the side of the pitch. He can't see Donnarumma's perspective. All he can see is a player in an offside position, so he puts his flag up. That has to go to VAR because Dermot Gallagher, at the end of the day, and all that bollocks, you can't stick with a linesman who's on one side of the pitch and can't see perspective or angles. The angle is when Van Dijk heads it, Donnarumma's got a clear view. The linesman can't see that. How can VAR say we're not getting involved because it's not a clear and obvious error? When you know, let's have a look at linesman Cam, who is basically looking that way. You know, they had to get involved in that. It's ridiculous. And the reality is, the reason he's not interfering with play is I used to play centre-back, and in the modern game, you could have Erling Haaland stood 10 metres offside, and we've got a defensive line, and I'm thinking about Erling Haaland. Then a ball goes over the top towards Erling Haaland. He stands still, but Phil Foden runs from deep, and he's onside. We're not playing offside because Phil Foden's not offside. The rule, you know, Erling Haaland is in that situation offside in my head because I'm playing an offside trap and he's 10 metres off. But I've got to think about a guy that he might just ignore it, even though the ball's to him, and then another guy runs onto it. So that's the interpretation of the rule. Interference is only if it absolutely directly stops something. And that didn't.
And that for me is why there's very little subjectivity in this for me. We all know that, again, if you don't know the law of the game, then you say these things. And David here says it's not about standing on him. Donnarumma thinks Robertson may head it the other way. That split hesitation from the keeper delayed him. David's wrong on two levels. He didn't hesitate because he's looking purely at the ball. He thinks that the ball's going the other direction, realizes he's made a slight mistake and can't get back. Secondly, it doesn't matter what he thinks Robertson may or may not do. That's not in the law of the game. So you can debate until the cows come home, David, that the law should change. But that's
where's this Mic'd Up show then? Because Mr. Arsenal podcast says Webb's on with Owen tonight on Mic'd Up. Where do they even do that? I never even know they did.
What's really interesting with that show is they used to put it out on the Sky app. What they've done the last few times, they're sneaky, right? So they only release it on the Premier League website, but they don't really push that it's out. So they do the show, but they kind of don't tell anybody that it's out. But I'm on them. But the link
when it's out.
Yeah, I will. I'll send it through to you when it comes out. And look, as I say, from my point of view and perspective to what David said, that's a separate argument. If they want to add that, well, the goalkeeper or a defender thinks you might become active or thinks you might head the ball, therefore you are interfering. If that's in the law, then it's offside, but it's not in the law. You can't, at the end of the day, what we cannot be asking, this is the thing for me, we're asking for consistency from referees and we're asking for them to abide by the law of the game. What I won't advocate for, what I think is wrong for football fans to do, is to say it should be offside. Essentially what you're saying, David, and I'm seeing a lot of people say this similar, it should be offside because I think this is interfering and I think this should be the rule and I think this is why. But you're making things up. It's not the law. At the end of the day, it doesn't work that way. No law was broken. No offside offence was committed. It's a massive mistake. They've given them multiple times before and defended them. And this is where football fans forget you. To a degree, I said it the other day, it upsets a lot of people. I don't care about your personal opinion. No. I care about, did they follow the protocol? Did they follow the law? And did they follow the examples that they've publicly spoken about in the past when they've given multiple goals like this? The answer is no on every single count. So I drop my tribalism. I don't care about what the law should or shouldn't be. It's, for me, they have broken protocol. Now, I think that what they're going to do, they'll either apologize for it and brush it under the carpet, or they will defend it like they did with the Gyökeres penalty and the slight touch. And then what you'll see is loads of these decisions not given to set a precedent. No, we didn't make a mistake. This is what we're doing now. My gut is starting to move towards that. And what have we seen since that Gyökeres penalty not given? Ahmad versus Sunderland, I think it was.
Yeah.
Slight touch on the ball. Brighton, sorry, completely taken out, not given. Why can't they give it? Oh, because we messed up that one decision.
But then they go. But then old Michael Oliver doesn't get the script because he loves Man City and goes, "Oh, it's a penalty on Doku." I saw Doku assault McAllister and nearly bloody stick his foot through his chest, but that's not a penalty. But a slight little touch on Doku, yeah, we'll have that one. But no, I think the point you make is spot on. It's like it's like Liverpool's onside against Spurs. You either make a stand for football or you go tribal. And Man City fans trying to defend that was offside. If that happens to you against Newcastle in 2 weeks' time, you'll go mad. And Liverpool, if you concede a goal like that and they say it's offside, you'll say, yeah, it was. Because I'd do that. If United had scored that goal and it wasn't given, I'd have smashed this setup. If United had conceded that goal and it was offside, I would have said, yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's tribalism. That's fine. But most people are able to go, I'm not going to be tribalistic here because that you're always going to have red tinted glasses. Let's just look at it as a football fan. We shouldn't be ruling goals out like that. So, and what's got lost is it's a fucking brilliant header by Van Dijk.
Yeah.
I actually went, what the hell? Shit. Liverpool have been playing shit. It was a brilliant header as well.
And games change and games change at those moments. And look, Ian says it right. He goes, there'll be far too many grey areas he thinks what the player might do. I mean, you could then start applying that to, listen, that should be a red card tackle. Why? Because I thought he was going to come in with his studs up. That's why I pulled out and he won the ball and he went on to score. But I thought he was going to do something. You can't start refereeing football matches based on what opponents think their opponent might do. I mean, how can you referee a game in that way? And the tribalism thing is this. I think of Ricky Gervais in these moments and that joke he told, which it wasn't really a joke, it's more of a statement where he said that supporting cancel culture towards things that people tweeted 20 years ago that were considered absolutely acceptable. So, for instance, if you said 20 years ago men can't have babies, you wouldn't lose your job, you wouldn't get in trouble, you wouldn't have the police at your door. You say it now, you can get in trouble, right? But someone who maybe posted that 15, 20 years ago on socials shouldn't get in trouble today because the standards have changed. And if you support that behavior, what Ricky Gervais said you're doing is all you're guaranteeing is one day you are going to be cancelled for saying something that today is deemed normal and acceptable, but in 15 years' time might not be. And that's why I don't support that, because we don't know how the world's going to change. And I look at refereeing in the same way. If you're supporting that goal being disallowed because you want to stick it on Liverpool and you're backing it, they're going to start changing precedents to back themselves, the PGMOL. And what if next week ours gets ruled out when it should be given, or the opposite way, where suddenly you're conceding goals that should be disallowed just because PGMOL are trying to protect themselves? What we should be looking for is the rules being followed and consistency. And that's why I push for it, because I think in the longer term, the more PGMOL get backed, the worse it's going to be for football. And I care more about the game than I do silly point scoring personally. But that's just me. On VAR...